watching Reason and Theology Live. The show concentrates on theological topics, historical matters, and philosophical problems with content ranging from introductory material to in-depth examinations. And now, your host, Michael Lofton.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Welcome to the show, everyone. Your host, Michael, doing a live chat question show here. Not sure if at this time on a Saturday there will be a lot of participation, kind of doing something new here. Well, not new as far as the concept. I've done these before, but new as far as the time in which I'm doing them. So again, just trying to feel things out and see if there's any interest on a Saturday around noon for something like an AMA. Ask me anything. If there is, be sure to put a question there in the live comment section. Make sure to put it to @Reason and Theology. Do my best to answer it. Hey, if worst case scenario, there's not enough participation and nobody is asking questions, that's fine. We at least tried something new, and I'll know not to do them around noon. It seems like they're pretty popular in the evening, but we'll kind of see how this goes. But again, make sure to put your questions there at the bottom in the live chat question area, well, where it says post a comment, and put it to @Reason and Theology. Ask me anything related to theology. In the meantime, while I'm waiting on y'all to post questions there, I will note some observations that I've made recently. I was having a discussion with an individual not long ago, and they were convinced that Catholicism isn't true because, according to them, the donation of Constantine. They felt for them this disproves papal supremacy. Now, for those of y'all who are patrons and members of the channel, you'll know, or you'll probably have already noticed at the very least, that last night, Eric and I did a video on the donation of Constantine. It's available only for patrons and RNT channel members. So if you want access to that, make sure to join patreon.com/Reason and Theology, or just hit the join button there below my video. Should be right here on YouTube, and you can get access to extra perks, and you're also supporting what we're doing here, so we can continue to offer this content. Somebody's noting in the chat, donation of Constantine was a forgery. Right, it was a forgery, exactly. But the argument is that, well, if this thing is a forgery, and it allegedly is forged to bolster the papal claims, then that must mean that the papal claims weren't well testified to prior to the forgery. So the papacy really depends on forgeries. That's kind of the argument. It's incredibly poor argument when you actually start to dig deep and look into the donation of Constantine, even with it being accepted as a forgery. It not only doesn't harm the papal claims, it somewhat implies that they had already been received prior to the forgery. Not to mention the fact that you can see them well attested to prior to the arise of the donation of Constantine as far as a forgery. But again, we go into all of this in the Patreon show. I see somebody, Sir Davalot, says they weren't well documented. The papal claims were outrageously well documented. You can even look in the ecumenical councils for attestation to them, which I've discussed elsewhere. But again, take a look at the video where we go over the donation of Constantine on Patreon or on the channel. And Sir Dabs a lot is saying, what? How? Again, you need to watch the video or watch the numerous hours of videos that I've already done on papal supremacy in the first millennium. I mean, I've gone over it not only on this channel, but on other channels like Swansona's channel, for example. I've also done some work with Catholic Answers on it. Sir Dabalot is really killing me with some of these comments here. The First Council makes no mention of infallibility or supreme jurisdiction. The First Council also doesn't mention anything about the real presence of Christ. It's just a really bad argument. I really encourage you to continue to look further into this. He says, "Nah, I don't want to give you too much money." Well, it wouldn't be too much money because you could get access to it for $2.99. But sure, that's fine. You don't have to give me any money. You can study this material on your own, at your own leisure. All right, so let's well, before I get to the chat questions, let me finish my point there about bringing up the donation of Constantine. For him, he felt like, well, I've looked so much into Catholicism, and the donation of Constantine just disproves the papal claims. Therefore, orthodoxy is correct. Well, just because the let's let's say somehow Catholicism were invalidated, that doesn't automatically make Eastern Orthodoxy true. Oh man, Sir Dabs a lot is just giving me great material here today. This is going to turn out into a whole show just on the stuff that I'm saying from this guy. None of the 7 councils make the claims Catholics make. Yeah, I can tell you've never read the Acts of the Councils. It's clear you've never read the 7th Ecumenical Council for sure. It's also clear you never looked into the 6th Ecumenical Council. So again, keep digging and keep watching, because we have a lot of content here on the channel addressing a lot of this stuff. But most of what you're saying is incredibly stereotypical. I encourage you to dig deeper. I've been there. I was saying the same things that you were saying. And frankly, it's very, very surface level. You got to dig deeper. I've been there. I've been where you're at. But believe me, there's a lot more to it than that. Don't just repeat the same stuff that you find, online in popular apologetic circles. Dig deeper into the actual primary sources. All right, let's see. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Just because Catholicism is disproven doesn't automatically make Eastern Orthodoxy right, because Oriental Orthodoxy could be true, or the Syrian Church of the East, or Protestantism, or something else like that. So it doesn't, just because Catholicism falls doesn't equal, well, Orthodoxy is correct, Eastern Orthodoxy. But moreover, I was incredibly dismayed or taken back by another comment that this individual made. They said that, well, there's really nothing that you could show me to prove Catholicism at this point. I've seen it all. And this is obviously a person who's never read any of the acts of any of the ecumenical councils. He's oblivious to the vast majority of data out there. And I could tell by the very fact that he was bringing up the donation of Constantine. If you're bringing up the donation of Constantine as an objection to the papacy, might I submit to you that you really are still dealing with surface level issues and you haven't dug deeper, and you need to, and there's a lot more information out there. But no, he was insistent that there's nothing that I could show to him. And you know what? I didn't offer him any more information, because I tend to, when a person thinks that they know it all and don't realize their own limitations, I generally leave them in that state. I generally don't dispel their ignorance. I'll just let them remain in that position and let them struggle and find out the hard way. Because I've noticed that whenever I were to take another approach and really help that person, and this is just kind of on average, people are different, right? But I'm just saying, after thousands of conversations I've had with people over 15 years, what I've noticed is the vast majority of people who don't realize their limitations and think they have it all figured out are generally people that it doesn't matter what you show them, no matter what, they won't accept a different view, because what it is it's not really the data or information that's driving their choices. There's something else that they're basing their decisions on. And so it doesn't matter what kind of information you show them, it's not going to change anything. For those people, it's often going to take some kind of life-changing event to shake them out of that and make them say, okay, I might need to retrace my steps and look further into, other options. So again, for those people, I just kind of let it go. But for those who have an open mind and realize their limitations and are interested in considering more information, we recently, like I said, actually last night, did that video for those who might still have questions about the donation of Constantine. People who are sincerely asking, well, hey, I recognize that I have a lot to learn, but I don't understand, how does the issue of the donation of Constantine comport with the claims of the Catholic Church? Fair enough. It's a legitimate question. I've asked the question. We've all had to ask that question. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's legitimate. For me is not legitimate is whenever you think, oh, I've studied it all, I know it all, and there's nothing you can show me. And my proof to disprove Catholicism is the donation of Constantine. At that point, you know you're dealing with somebody who, again, doesn't realize their limitations and has not gone beyond the surface level. But we've all been there, right? I imagine the majority of people who are watching this channel are probably a little bit more seasoned in theology. We've all been there. We've all been at that stage where we kind of thought we've seen it all. And, that's not to say that you'll never get to a point where you think that you're not going to see anything that would fundamentally change anything. I can see a person who is well researched and has studied for many, many years coming to that point, but still saying, but I'm open to more information and sincerely being open to it. I can see a person saying that who's seasoned, well trained in theology, has done their time, and they feel like, I do think that I'm at a point where I haven't seen everything for sure, but I just don't think I'm going to see anything that would substantially and foundationally change my mind, but I'm open to it. I'm open to seeing that if that's, if it's out there. I think somebody who's, really, really seasoned can get at that point or get to that point. But again, it's going to be somebody who has been, spending an incredible amount of time in studying the data, especially in the first millennium, because there's just so much information there involving this. And frankly, nobody can study it all in one lifetime. But I do think that you could get to the point where you at least have a good understanding of the broad picture, right? You don't have an idea of all the details of the picture, but you have a broad understanding of the data that's out there in the first millennium. I do think that that's possible. So again, for those who are kind of open to more, we're going to start providing content, especially on Patreon. I mean, I'm going to continue to do the shows here for free for everybody so that everybody can benefit and gain from them. But I also think that it's important to give those who are supporting the channel financially extra material in appreciation for their support. So I'm going to continue to offer much more content for patrons and channel members than I had before. Also partly because soon, Lord willing, I'm not going to say when, but soon, let's just say that I'll have a lot more time to do R&T. Let me just put it that way. I have a lot more time to do reason and theology. So that means I'm going to be working much harder on R&T specifically because I'll have more time to devote to it. And I'm sure y'all can read between the lines on that one. But that's all I'll say for now. Stay tuned for more on that. But I would greatly appreciate your support. Let me, however, follow that up with, I would greatly appreciate your support on Patreon or becoming a channel member. It really does help tremendously. It helps me to where I can offer these videos for free, and also the extra material on Patreon and here for R&T channel members. Any extra content that I'm putting on Patreon, I'm also putting it on the R&T channel member YouTube channel membership. So you get access to the same content on either platform. It's just you might have a preference for one over the other. Support me on either one of them, whichever you prefer, though, because you're going to get access to the same extra perks. All right, let's see. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, here. There is one additional problem with medieval forgeries. Medieval forgeries sometimes mean later written documents based on earlier agreements. You are touching on something very important, Mahoville, very important. We addressed this yesterday with the issue of the donation of Constantine, and just a sneak peek. Yes, it seems that the document is a forgery. That doesn't mean necessarily that there's no truth to what it testifies to, however, right? Why then would you create a forgery to testify to something that's already accepted as true generally? watch the video. We address that specifically. And also, even if you were to say, well, no, I don't think that it testifies to any truth prior to the forgery, there are still plenty of other things that would attest to the papal claims way before the donation of Constantine, as far as a forgery is concerned. So, again, check it out, patreon.com/reason and theology, or just hit the join button there. Okay. I'm enjoying these comments from Sir Dabs a lot. Petrine primacy is orthodox, but infallibility and supreme jurisdiction aren't mentioned. Again, my friend, everything that you're saying, I've said before. So whenever I say this about you, I'm also criticizing myself. What you're espousing here is basically meme theology. It's meme level. It's incredibly surface level. It's incredibly stereotypical. Again, I've been guilty of doing the same thing. So when I say that about you, I'm having to say that about myself. We've been there. But I say that to you to challenge you, go deeper, because you're still at meme surface level of theology. That's an incredibly shallow understanding of the issues. And again, we have plenty of content engaging this in much more detail to back it up. But I really think you need to go deeper than that. With all due respect, let's see. By Mikey Joe, what do you make of Jimmy Akin's argument that the unanimous consent of the fathers is not infallible, and that the restriction on dissenting from them was only disciplinary? He brings up some good points about the context in which the comment about the unanimous consent of the fathers in the Council of Trent is brought up. He brings up a really good point as far as the disciplinary context, and he also does bring up a good objection to anybody who thinks that the church fathers are a separate or an additional organ of infallibility. I concede the context of the Council of Trent there being disciplinary, and I also concede that the church fathers are not an additional organ of infallibility. I concede that. I concede both points. However, I will still say, but though that is true, there's something else that needs to be addressed with the unanimous attestation of the fathers, and that is they're not an infallible organ, but they are a reliable witness to tradition when they're witnessing to matters of faith and morals. I don't believe the issue that they're witnessing to here is a matter of faith and morals, therefore it's open to be challenged. But when they are witnessing to what is a matter of faith and morals, not what they think is a matter of faith and morals, but what is actually a matter of faith and morals, when they are witnessing to that unanimously, that would be considered a reliable way to identify something that is in the sacred deposit of faith. Why? Well, it's not because they're an additional organ of the magisterium. That much is conceded. But for the same reason why you have the sense of the faithful being a reliable attestation to something that is in the sacred deposit of faith. But the sense of the faithful, that's not the laity, and all the faithful throughout the church would also technically even include the hierarchy here in a non-teaching way. But the sense of the faithful in this notion here, that's not another infallible organ added to the magisterium, is it? No, that's not what's being said. What's being said is the faithful are able to reliably testify to something that is in the sacred deposit of faith when there is a unanimous consensus among the faithful. So same thing here with the fathers, same thing with the schoolmen. When there is a unanimous consensus among the schoolmen on a matter, I would also say the unanimous consensus of the theologians, and we're specifically talking about those with the mandatum today, I would say that that's a reliable guide to something that is part of the deposit of faith in sacred tradition. So I concede what Jimmy is saying, but I'm going to take it a step further and say, but there still is a reliable witness or use of the fathers when they testify to something on a matter of faith and morals. They are a sure guide at that point to something being in the sacred deposit of faith, not as an organ determining that something is definitive, but as reliable witnesses to what is already in the deposit of faith. So I hope that helps. But again, The problem is for the young earth creationists is you might be able to appeal to the church fathers, but you're appealing to the church fathers on a matter of fact, not on a matter of faith or morals. They thought it was a matter of fact, but in fact, they thought it was a matter of faith, but they were mistaken on that. It was actually a matter of fact. And this turns out to be something that they may be factually incorrect on. But that doesn't do away with their reliable witness on matters of faith and morals when it actually is a matter of faith and morals. I hope that helps. It was a great question. And by the way, I really appreciate Jimmy Akin's perspective in that debate. I think that he defended his position incredibly well. And I kind of lean in his direction more than Gideon's direction. I kind of lean more in Jimmy's direction. I don't know enough about science to really say anything definitively either way, but I do lean more in his direction for the reasons that he explained in the debate. Now, I also really appreciate Gideon and his perspective and the approach that he has. I might not necessarily agree with it, but I appreciate the charity by which, he had the discussion. And in fact, I'm going to have him on the show on Monday to talk more about his perspective. Again, I don't necessarily go in his direction, but I'm happy to hear him out and have him on and have conversations with people that are charitable and able to, have these kinds of conversations in such a fashion. So, let's see. And by the way, I see we got a new member here, VM. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much. What level of authority does a pope have if they've resigned, like in the case of Benedict XVI? Magisterial authority, you mean? 0. Now, unless they're somehow assigned, some kind of jurisdiction over a particular diocese, at that point they would have the same authority as any other local bishop. But a bishop without a diocese technically doesn't function as a member of the magisterium, as I understand it. But that would still be a pretty low level anyway. It would just be the level of a local bishop. So as far as the actual magisterium, 0 authority. But he might have a moral authority, right? I mean, just because you have 0 authority jurisdictionally or something like that doesn't necessarily mean you don't have pull. You don't have gravitas, right? There's people who are not members of the magisterium that carry a great deal of authority, as people who have either studied theology in depth for many years and are reliable in that sense, or people who have lived a very serious life of holiness and are reliable in that sense. Okay. What else we got here? Oh, well, I hear my pit bull going off. Let me go take care of him. Give me 1 second. I'm going to step away while I take care of him. Hold on. Hey, RNT fans, I'm really excited to say that Father Daniel Dozier and I will be leading a pilgrimage to the Holy Land in 2023, April 19th to the 29th, and it's going to be Byzantine style, so you're going to get a Byzantine tour of the Holy Land. If you're interested in this, be sure to check out reasonandtheology.com/Holy Land for more information. And by the way, I also recently learned that Israel is no longer requiring a person to be vaccinated in order to be admitted into the country. So more good news. Once again, check out reasonandtheology.com/Holy Land for more information. Hey RNT fans, if you're looking to buy a home or sell a home and would like a realtor who shares your beliefs, be sure to check out our sponsor, realestateforlife.org, and be sure to tell them Reason and Theology sent you. All right, we're back. I had to calm him down. He was barking at somebody. And usually whenever he gets going, he doesn't stop. So he's getting big too. He's about 75 pounds now. But the thing about him is he keeps digging these ruts in my yard. It's driving me crazy and I haven't figured out why dogs do that. I need to Google it. Why do dogs dig ruts in yards and stuff like that? So I'm always out there every day, with a rake, raking the mud or dirt back into the hole. Excuse me here. Sorry, I'm drinking from my sparkling ice, 0 sugar with vitamins and antioxidants. I don't know if y'all have heard of this before, but I've been drinking it lately. They're pretty good. Cutting out sugar, so gotta try something. All right, let me look through the chat here. Let's see. Catholics are in communion with Chaldean Nestorians. How is your theology correct? Sacred Heart devotion is Nestorian. Oh, so stereotypical. Oh boy. Wow. Now there are some Chaldeans that venerate Nestorius. That much is true, but they don't accept Nestorianism. That's the difference. And the Sacred Heart devotion being Nestorian, you've been watching too much Jay Dyer and Associates. Please go deeper. It's not Nestorian. Nobody is worshiping a heart muscle, and that's kind of the idea that is behind this claim. Again, anybody who uses that charge against Catholics, to me, conspicuously immediately stand out as somebody that has not really looked into these issues and is being unfair in their criticism of Catholicism. And oftentimes they lack goodwill. If you have goodwill, and I don't know you from Adam, Sir Dabs a lot, which I like that name, by the way, but I don't know you from Adam. But if you have goodwill, I think you would dig deeper than that. So continue to dig deeper. Perhaps we can do a show on that specifically. But one of the reasons why I haven't addressed that so far is because, again, for me, the majority of people who are of goodwill would have already found an answer to that one. That's so incredibly shallow of an objection against Catholicism that it seems like anybody who would use that or even go for that isn't even trying to hear the Catholic perspective. They're just kind of looking for something to condemn Catholics over. They're not sincerely trying to weigh the evidence. So that's my problem. But you can read about the popes who have spoken about the Sacred Heart devotion and how it's in reference, it refers to God's love. It's not a devotion to a heart muscle. So there's nothing Nestorian here. We're not separating him into two persons. That's absurd. Again, I have to question anybody who really uses that argument. All right, so let's see what else we got in the chat. You guys worship a second person within Christ. Well, you know what, Sir Dabs, now you've really crossed the line. Now you're starting to get into accusations of idolatry. So I think you might need to just go to some other channels. This is probably not the channel for you. Let's see. Alfredo. Hi, Michael. Is the teaching that public revelation has ended after the death of the last apostle dogmatic? How would you go through defending this teaching through scripture and tradition? Golly, yeah, this is a good one. Racking my brain here, trying to think of conciliar or papal definitive teachings that would state this. There might be. It kind of feels like in the back of my mind, I feel like there is a magisterial intervention that definitively notes that, but I could be mistaken, right? I mean, I'll have to go and look and see. I'm not recalling at the moment where that would be, but it feels like there is one. But let's just pretend for the moment that there isn't, some kind of magisterial intervention saying this. I think that is so well attested to, and that is so well assumed by Catholics, not only by the sense of the faithful, but even perhaps the ordinary and universal magisterium, that I don't think that could even be challenged, right? I don't think that anyone could dispute that. I think that's so well testified to. But it seems like there actually is something explicit in the magisterium, but I'm drawing a blank on where offhand. I wonder if it's at the First Vatican Council. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go back and look at that. Now, dogmatic. Well, something could be an undefined dogma without actually being defined. So it's something that is in the sacred deposit of faith, scripture, or sacred tradition, but it just hasn't been definitively proposed by the magisterium. So at the very least, it would be an undefined dogma in my estimation, but it kind of seems like that's been stated somewhere explicitly. Y'all help me out in the chat if y'all recall anywhere specifically where the magisterium addresses this. I'll have to go back and look. That's a good one. When are RNT bookshelves selling in stores? I every book that I have in here is sold in stores. That's where I got them all from. I probably got half of them from Amazon and the other half from book sales or bookstores. So they're already on sale, my friend. What are you waiting on? Reason in Theology says Sir Dabs-a-lot would like to call in. Well, I mean, I wish I would have known that earlier before he started accusing us of grave sin. That would have been nice if I had known that. Again, it's never a good move to come on the channel and start accusing Catholics of grave sin. It's one thing to ask questions and to say, hey, how does this not lead to idolatry or creating a second person or venerating another person in Christ or something like that? But to start to accuse us of heresy like that, you worship another person in Christ. I mean, are you kidding me? Come on, you don't come onto a Catholic channel and start accusing Catholics of engaging in sin and heresy. It's not a good move. And for me personally, I don't tolerate that. You might find some other channels that do, and that's fine. I don't tolerate it because what I've noticed is that those kinds of comments tend to inhibit productive conversations. They don't really move conversations forward in a positive way. So I've just noticed that it's best that those people just kind of they go elsewhere and visit other channels. I don't think this is a channel for them. So too late on that one. Let's see what else. Michael stays avoiding Jay Dyer. Really? Is that a joke or is that kind of just tongue in cheek? I don't know, but it's got to be a joke. Let's see. Let us be charitable. Not all ortho bros are ortho bros. That's true. I agree. Not all Orthodox brothers are ortho bros. I totally agree with that. Believe me. I know that from personal experience. Some of the most important people in my life are not Catholic. They're Orthodox. And I would give my life for them. So I recognize that. I recognize that not every Orthodox is an ortho bro, right? Let's see. What else we got? Looking through the chat. By the way, we got a show coming up here with Louis D's on in about 15 minutes. So I'll go in just a moment. But if y'all have some super chats, put them in there now. Otherwise, I'll try to grab a few. But I can't guarantee I'll get to them all. So this is a good one. Peaceful Relaxation asks, would you say that liturgical prayers and hymns are binding and infallible? Golly, man, the liturgy is a source, a reliable, not source, let me rephrase it, a reliable witness to the deposit of faith. So that you can use the liturgy to support doctrinal teachings, right? I think that everything you'll find in the liturgy promulgated by the church officially is safe. Again, this is when it's promulgated by the church itself, not something that just creeps up locally, right? Not some kind of liturgical abuse, but something that's actually promulgated by the church. I think that that's safe. Is every bit of it infallible, as in a reliable witness to sacred tradition? I would say on the whole, it's a reliable witness to sacred tradition on the whole. But if you were to find one sentence in a collect that says something that the liturgy nowhere else says, and it's kind of really not well attested to, is that infallible? I would say not necessarily. I would say it's safe, but it's not necessarily infallible. It's not necessarily a reliable witness to what is in the deposit of faith when considered just individually like that, right? But again, the liturgy on the whole, I want to say, is a reliable witness to it. So things that you're seeing thematically consistently, yes. Or even something like a feast day, the feast of the Assumption of the Virgin, is a good attestation of something in the sacred deposit of faith, even prior to its declaration solemnly by the magisterium. So, okay. Not sure if Michael accepts calls now. Not on this one. I'll probably do one tonight where I'll take phone calls. This was going to be a live, live chat only, just because I have another show coming up in 10 minutes. So, R&T and Jimmy Akin, man, I want to have Jimmy back on the show. I really want to. Am I taking phone calls? Yeah, again, probably not right now, since this was just going to be a short show. Trying to see if there was anything else in here that I could grab. Again, if y'all have some super chats, go ahead and send them now. I can take those as priority. But did I hear that Matt Fradd's in Poland? Yeah, I was referring people to the video and the one that I did. Evidently, we both did a video on it right around the same time. I didn't know until after the video that I did. I didn't know he had done a video on it an hour before. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done a video. I would have just shared what he did on social media. I found out right after I went live. Actually, after I got off the show. But yeah, good on him, and I'm glad to see that. I think he was over there to support the nuns and also bring them medicine and stuff like that, and interview Father Jason and bring more awareness to what they're doing. So it's awesome. Please go and support what they're doing. Father Jason and some others have rescued, to my knowledge, over 36 people, 22 of which will need adoption. But right now they have their legal guardian with them. So currently they're not, adopting any of them, but when they get here to the United States, maybe that will be an option. We'll see what the legal guardian decides. But at the very least, they created a fund for them so that when they arrive in the United States, they'll have something available to sustain them financially. So go and support it. You can go to Matt Fradd's channel, and you'll see on there where you can support. And Fradd's not getting anything out of it. He's just, giving that straight to the charity. So go and support it, help them out. They need your help. Let's see. Would that mean it's right to venerate Palamas, since us Byzantine Catholics venerate him on the second Sunday of Lent? Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with venerating him? Palamism is an acceptable perspective in the Catholic Church. It's one among several. There's the Scotus perspective, there's the Thomist perspective, and then there's the Palamite perspective. And you're free to hold to any of them on the issue involving the essence and energy, and the simplicity of God. Nothing wrong with venerating him, since the Church has allowed for us to do that by officially promulgating a liturgical calendar with his feast day. The Church has officially done that. So I don't think that the Church would allow us to venerate officially someone on our calendar who is in hell. I don't believe that. If you believe that, I think you have some serious problems with consistency in your belief on the indefectibility of the Church. You might need to reconsider that one. And if the Church is defective, are you in the right church at this point? That's kind of the question. So yeah, now I understand he said some things that were also problematic. I get that, but that was him critiquing misunderstandings about the Catholic Church, not critiquing what he knew to be the actual truth about what God instituted as his church. He wasn't fighting against what God actually instituted, but he actually thought that he was defending it and fighting against something that was taking away from what Christ instituted. And he may be mistaken, sure, but various saints throughout history have been mistaken on some pretty important things. Let's see. Enslaved by Truth, get Akin to discuss whether or not the moon is a Daigili spaceship. What's a Daigili spaceship? What? I don't know where this is from. I don't recognize it. It's not from Star Trek or, to my knowledge, Star Wars and X-Files or Stargate. I don't know where that one comes from. You got me on that one. Would the proposition the book of Hebrews is an inspired book be a secondary object? The entire canon is a secondary object. So that would be it, right? That has been defined, right? Not that specifically, but it includes that whenever Trent solemnly defined the canon. So that is definitively taught. I argue it's a secondary object because I hold a material sufficiency. All right. Great question. Hi, Michael. What can be consequences of war in Ukraine on Russia Orthodox Church and other Eastern churches? I just wrote about this with Catholic Answers. So go to Catholic Answers and just type in, look for the article. There's a spiritual aspect to Ukraine, something like along those lines. The war in Ukraine is spiritual too, I believe is the name of it. The war in Ukraine is spiritual too. I also have it linked on my social media if you want to check it out there. Donate to Father Sharon's cause at Pints with Aquinas /Ukraine. There we go. Glad you got the link there. And I'll need to put it here in the show notes in a little bit. Let's see. Well, I think I cleared everything out. Oh, no, I have to take this one before I go. Which I have. Oh, I got to go now, so I'll just answer this and head out. Star Trek or Star Wars? Star Trek. Star Trek. I'm partial to it. I grew up more with Star Trek than I did Star Wars. It wasn't until about 13 that I saw Star Wars, but I grew up with Star Trek. Get Akin to discuss Michael Lofton multiverse. That would be fun to discuss the multiverse with Akin. I would really enjoy that. So far, do you overall lean more in favor of Thomism, Scotism, or Palamism? A little more to Palamism, but that's just me. Personally, I don't know for sure. I don't know enough to say definitively on any of these. I could totally be wrong on that. I'm sure I'll be studying that for many, many more years. So that's kind of my tentative position. Kurt says unsubscribed. Jay says unsubscribed. Sean McGinnis says boo. This is great. All right, I gotta go. We got a show with Louis Dizon coming up next in about 5 minutes. Y'all make sure to check it out. It's basics of, and I'm sorry, now we just did the basics of biblical Hebrew. This is going to be through the scriptures where he goes over First Kings and also parts of, I believe, Second Chronicles. So it's going to be his commentary on sacred scripture. So it's going to be from a Catholic perspective. Be sure to check it out. Again, 5 minutes. Link should already be up, so y'all should see it on YouTube. All right, we'll see y'all in just a minute. God bless.